各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。提到亞裔傳統月，咁其實本國咧早喺90年代就已經開始喺5月去慶祝亞裔文化。不過，直到2002年，本國嘅政府先至正式將5月訂立為亞裔傳統月。雖然亞裔傳統月已經係訂立咗20年，不過係到咗近年，由於針對亞裔嘅種族歧視情緒不斷發酵，公眾對於亞裔傳統月嘅關注亦都重新上升。過往嘅本國華裔鐵路工人，定係為家軍參與2次世界大戰嘅亞裔軍人，都係證明亞裔對本國貢獻嘅最佳證據。不過到咗近代，北美嘅亞裔人士又係以乜嘢嘅形式作出貢獻呢？喺今集我哋就從體育、音樂、科技以及政治呢4方面去睇下亞裔人士嘅貢獻。
一個人嘅才華對社會嘅貢獻，從來唔會因為種族同埋膚色而出現分別。而喺北美，不論喺過往以及現在，亞裔都喺唔同嘅領域上努力打拼。
It used to be that you had to be a Caucasian man to be an astronaut. That's all changed, right? We have people of all color, we have genders, we have a good mix.
Frankly, I was amazed. But at the same time, it was daunting because then I knew that I had to succeed. If I failed, they would say, "Ha, you see, Asian Americans cannot represent this country. Asian Americans are not qualified." We were always right.
亞裔喺北美努力奮鬥，未必係為咗名成利就，或者更多嘅係希望喺同一片土地上有一個種族和諧嘅社會。
I think we want to be innovators in our field and to show what is possible in terms of 21st century music making and hopefully be a model for many Asians across the world as to what is possible for them as well.
You know, there's different views around the world, there's different politics and the way we see the world, but I think sport and hockey is a great way to bring different nations together and really compete under kind of one roof and be one family. You know, we're the hockey family. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your kind of beliefs are. I think there's definitely a way where we can all cohabitate in the same world. 葉勁光 Brandon 葉目前效力於俄羅斯大陸冰球聯賽嘅昆侖紅星隊。佢過去曾經喺北美嘅國家冰球聯盟 NHL 以及其他多個頂級聯賽打拼。不過喺成為職業球員之前，佢嘅冰球旅程就係從卑詩省楓樹嶺嘅屋企門口開始。I started off just playing hockey with my father. We had a little cul-de-sac out front of the house I grew up in, and we spent hours as, you know, I was like 4 or 5 years old. We spent hours in the front yard just playing with the ball and stick, and he actually put me on roller skates before I even hit the ice.
Brandon 係加拿大第3代華人，佢嘅外祖父就係喺當年跟隨屋企人嚟到本國興建鐵路，而佢嘅祖父亦都喺差唔多嘅時段移居到本國。
And then on my father's side, my grandfather, he paid a head tax to migrate to Canada. So he came over, I think, as a young adult, and that's where he met my grandmother on my dad's side, and she was from Ireland, and that's where I get the Irish in me.
喺北美，普遍對於亞裔家長都存在一個刻板印象，就係亞裔家長都希望子女喺學業上有出色嘅成就，並喺社會上從事某類型嘅專業工作。而成為運動員就未必係一般亞裔家庭會鼓勵子女追求嘅職業。不過 Brandon 就有一個非一般嘅父親。
Yeah, they've been extremely supportive along my entire journey. You know, that's just their style. Like, you know, they trust that whatever I choose to do, that I'm going to be successful, and they've just been, you know, a great support system along the way. I think a lot has to do with my dad being obsessed with hockey like I am. He might even love hockey more than me, and you know, he's 68 years old today and he still plays, so that definitely had something to do with it.
得到家人支持後，Brandon 亦都展現出佢喺冰球上邊嘅天賦，受到美國波士頓大學嘅青睞，該校就以獎學金邀請佢入讀，而佢持續喺冰球場上交出好表現，當中就包括呢一球。
3-on-2 developing from Boston University. Lawrence gets it through. Higgins centering pass. Score!
Well, Brandon Yip's going to get this goal after a good rush here by Lawrence. He's going to go down. They got their first outnumbered rush in overtime. Higgins makes a nice pass, kicks it off his skate. And Brandon Yip is going to just squeak that puck underneath the right pad of Corey Schneider.
There wasn't too many Asian Canadians growing up and going through juniors and, playing in college and then professional.
冰球場上喺傳統上都被認為較少亞裔面孔。作為亞裔嘅 Brandon 一路走過嚟，又有冇感到寂寞呢？
I've always been proud of my Chinese heritage, but kind of growing up, I identified myself as another Canadian hockey player, just like all my teammates, and I was very fortunate. I didn't feel lonely at all, and I guess I was just surrounded with good people.
其後 Brandon 成功打入 NHL 北美冰球聯盟，喺聯盟征戰5個球季之後，Brandon 轉到歐洲繼續佢嘅冰球生涯。而喺2017年，佢得到一個機會轉會到中國嘅一支職業冰球隊。而喺舊年，佢更代表中國隊出戰奧運。
For me, I thought it was just kind of a no-brainer to play in a country where my ancestral roots originated from, and to represent them in the Olympics was just, wow, it just seemed like a dream come true for me, and it has been. Like you said, it's not a very popular sport right now, but we can do a lot of things to change it, and I think our showing at the Olympics really helped that.
由於中國冰球仍然處於發展階段，因此當地球隊引進好多外籍球員。不過 Brandon 表示，咁樣並冇成為一個障礙。
We came from all over, but we made it a point that once you put that Chinese uniform on, we're one family and we're representing China, and I think we did a great job to show that we were united. And
Brandon 相信運動能夠團結嚟自世界各地嘅人，特別透過奧運賽事當中能夠睇得出呢份團結精神。
And obviously everyone wants to win gold medals and silvers and bronze, but the main thing is just being there and competing and representing your country, but also representing your sport.
除咗運動可以團結各國人民之外，另一種可以達到同樣效果嘅媒介就係音樂。
I'm Jonathan Myron, violinist from Arkai.
And my name is Philip Shigog, cellist of Arkai.
Arkai 係創作新派弦樂嘅二人組合，成員 Jonathan 同埋 Philip 都係亞裔美國人，佢哋都係嚟自紐約著名音樂學府茱莉亞學院。
The story behind it goes that we were both nominated by the Juilliard School to represent the school at a conference that brought together young peace advocates and amazing artist entrepreneurs from around the country together in New York City, and we were both there representing Juilliard. And one day after classes, there was a party, and we both whipped out our instruments and we started playing and improvising together, and everybody was dancing and singing together. And 1 hour later, there we were, still going. And that's when Arkai became official.
Arkai 嘅音樂除咗傳統弦樂嘅部分，同時亦都混合咗多種現代音樂嘅元素。除此之外，佢哋創作嘅方向都圍繞住社會上正在發生嘅議題。喺舊年，佢哋就受到美國華裔博物館嘅邀請，為停止亞裔仇恨嘅展覽創作一曲。
And we wrote this piece called In Radiance, and we wanted to tell the story of what a lot of Asians were going through at the time. And so we did this through a musical piece that told the story in 3 parts. First, starting out in the aftermath of pain and hardship, transitioning to a hopeful reckoning, and then transitioning from there to a hopeful future that we hope to see. And through this piece, we wanted to capture this incredible story and to bring beauty and peace into the world.
While we composed this piece in the aftermath of an increased spike in anti-Asian hate crimes, those haven't gone away entirely. And so while this piece has lived on for over a year now, there have been other incidents, unfortunately. And so as we've continued to perform this, the piece continues to take on a life of its own as we continue to play it in response to, unfortunately, the continuation of hate crimes. And so we hope that this piece can be something that one day will not be needed in that capacity.
而 Philip 就表示，音樂係一個最好嘅途徑去打動人心，去推廣和平同埋種族共融。
The arts can be that back door where we, like Jonathan was saying, we experience someone else's story. We experience those universal human emotions. And so for us, as we tell stories through our art, stories that are connecting people across the world and across cultures, we hope that it can be a way to get at that human element that connects all of us.
And it's really important in helping promote understanding between different cultures.
Akai 創作嘅音樂融合咗唔同嘅音樂元素，佢哋嘅音樂風格其實都同佢哋嘅族裔背景有關。
We exist between worlds with our ethnicity and our heritage. Both Jonathan and I are both Asian American, but we're also mixed race. We exist at the intersection of cultures and peoples and traditions. And so for us, in both who we are and in our artistry, I think we hope to be an example, to be a model, to show how can we bring things that can sometimes feel very different. How can we bring those together? And how can that actually be a source for more creativity, more communication, and more hope in the world?
I don't believe there is racism in music. I think it really is this powerful tool that is so important in promoting understanding between cultures and bringing people together around this shared art, and how that translates to the broader world. I think both Philip and I just believe in the immense power of the arts to really put forth that change that we hope to see.
喺認識過一啲北美亞裔人士喺體育以及音樂方面嘅成就之後，咁喺下一節翻嚟，我哋就去睇睇其他亞裔人士喺科技以及政治上嘅貢獻。歡迎翻嚟節目時間。加美兩國嘅亞裔國民呢，佢哋嘅貢獻其實唔單止局限喺北美地區㗎。咁喺國際外交舞台上，甚至係遠至太空啊，都有亞裔人士嘅蹤影。呢一節我哋就有美國首位亞裔女外交官，以及美國亞裔太空人嚟到分享一下佢哋嘅故事。
10, 9, 8, we have a go for main engine start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of the space shuttle.
It is a little out of body. It is a little unreal. The thought through my head though is, holy cow, this is real. And that rumbling I feel isn't a motor moving us. It's the real engines revving up. And honestly, I felt probably like everybody else, like, what am I doing here? And who made a mistake and put me on this Space Shuttle.
Daniel Tani 係前美國亞裔太空人，佢參與過2001年嘅 STS-108太空任務，同埋2007年遠征16號任務。佢表示，太空人呢一份職業俾人一份神秘夢幻嘅感覺。不過佢並唔係從小立志成為太空人。
Now, honestly, though, when I was growing up, some of my earliest memories were watching moon landings and rocket launches. And so back in the late 60s, everybody was space crazy. All the kids were, so we were playing astronaut. We were pretending to be astronauts. It was all space all the time. But even though I did all that, I never really thought about being an astronaut. I never considered it as a career or a goal.
呢一粒蘊藏住太空夢嘅種子就種咗喺 Tanny 心入邊，直到佢大學畢業之後，開始佢嘅第一份工作。呢一粒太空夢種子 就開始發芽。
Honestly, only until I had my first job out of college, which was in the aerospace industry, and I met a few astronauts, did I even think, oh, it's even possible, or it's even something that I might even think about. And then I would say another 10 years passed or so before I seriously thought, no, maybe I should really try to become an astronaut.
不過要成為太空人並唔係隨便申請就可以成功考錄。Tony 表示，佢當時亦都面對好多競爭。
Me and thousands of other people sent in our applications to be an astronaut. I would say it's easy to do, easy to apply. I mean, you just fill out a form and send it in. But you have to be very fortunate, be very lucky. You have to have the right mix of education and experience and personality. And so I didn't really start working for NASA until I got selected to become an astronaut. But I had been in the space industry for, gosh, I don't know, 10 or 12 years before that.
而接受完太空人訓練之後，喺2001年 ，Tony 就被委派參與 STS-108太空任務。
My first mission to space was to go visit the International Space Station early on in its assembly. And so we brought up the fourth crew to ever live on the space station and brought home the third crew. So that was right at the beginning of the construction of the space station in 2001. And then later, when I went to live on the space station in 2007, my primary job when I was an astronaut, when I flew, which was 13 years ago, was to help build the space station. So now I love that. I'm a mechanical engineer. I love putting stuff together. And in my case, that involved going outside and doing spacewalks and help doing the things you need to do to build the space station on the outside too.
Tony 表示，喺美國太空總署工作嘅職員都係嚟自世界各地，工作期間都會有好多唔同文化嘅交流。
I had crewmates, or I flew with people from Germany and Russia and Italy and Japan, and these are. What's really interesting is these are people from countries that they used to be our enemies. I mean, these used to be our, the most feared people that we knew, and yet just a generation later, I'm sharing the experience of flying in space with them, and we are relying on each other as crewmates.
Tony 表示，由太空嘅角度睇返地球，唔單止會被當刻嘅景象震懾住。同時亦都令佢對事物有新嘅睇法。
We get this fantastic view of the Earth independent of boundary. During the daytime, when we can see the Earth during the daytime, we see no political boundaries. All we see is a beautiful mountain range or a river or a lake. And if it's a familiar area, we can think, oh, I know, 4 million people live, right there on the tip of that lake. And then over here, 2 million people live over here. And then I know, oh my goodness, I know they're really mad at those other people. They don't get along. And from our perspective, you think, gee, I wish they could come up here and see what a beautiful place they live at, because maybe they would think, maybe you'd be less angry at somebody who you think is your neighbor because they live so close to each other from our perspective.
經歷過2次太空任務，再次回歸到地球之後，Tony 對自我身份嘅睇法都有所改變。
I started my career as a citizen of America, the United States of America, but after this experience, I came and landed, and so proud to be a citizen of the planet Earth, and that's where my real allegiance lies now, is as an Earthling, as a citizen of this beautiful planet.
Tony 認為呢一個美麗星球嘅居民可以分為2類。
Well, so I think there are 2 types of people in the world. The one type of people are they would do anything to go into space, and then the other type of people are they would do anything to not go into space. So I wonder why people don't want to be an astronaut.
Daniel Tani 運用佢嘅職業生涯，嘗試為人類科技進展奮鬥，打破升上太空嘅界限，成為佢口中嘅第一種人。不過唔上太空，留喺地球一樣可以突破領域。就好似 Ambassador Julia Chang blog 張之香大使就致力打破國與國之間嘅隔膜。
After 20 years in government service, I was just lucky to be in the right place at the right time when the George H.W. Bush administration was looking for me, looking for the first Asian American ambassador in U.S. history. I attribute it to good luck.
張之香大使係美國首位亞裔大使，而佢喺美國嘅故事就係由50年代跟隨屋企人移居到三藩市開始。張之香大使嚟自一個書香家庭，佢嘅父親就係首位喺美國哈佛大學法律系畢業嘅中國人。
My father used his Harvard education, particularly his legal training, to help modernize China, becoming the first Chinese to oversee the reform of China's maritime customs service and to return tariff autonomy to China.
而佢嘅父親就將呢一份對公共服務嘅堅持傳承咗俾佢。
He taught me that if a country has been good to you, you give back.
不過喺50年代嘅美國，當時佢作為一位亞裔學童，亦都曾經被人誤解。
When I enrolled and started in the 6th grade, I found myself in remedial summer class for children with mental disabilities. The teacher thought that my inability to speak English meant that I was mentally challenged. Luckily, I learned fast. In fact, I entered myself in a speech contest when I returned to class in the fall and spoke on the question of whether I was Chinese or American. Frankly, I don't remember how I concluded, but I won the contest.
喺同一年，佢由原本係一個不善英語嘅亞裔女仔，變成可以贏得英語演講比賽之外，佢更參與咗頒獎選舉並成功選上。
My father's view, he was shocked when he saw me making posters, vote for Julia. He said, wow, he said, you've already become an American. You're no longer Chinese. You see, that's why I sort of fit in with America, that I didn't feel deprived or anything. I really enjoyed being able kind of to do things that I had never done before, to have the kind of freedom, to try my wings at anything. And that's what America really, in my early days, what America meant to me.
張之香大使一直喺學業上有突出嘅表現，其後升讀柏克萊加州大學同埋哈佛大學等多間美國名牌學府。而佢喺大學嘅時期就發現咗自己同別人唔一樣嘅地方。
Because at some point in college, I looked around myself and saw no one who looked like me in any position that I aspired to. I had absolutely no interest in working in a laundry or a restaurant or a Chinatown souvenir shop. By the way, I did all those things because I had to work during the summers to defray my college expenses. And those were the jobs that were available to Chinese.
畢業之後，當年張之香大使已經對公共服務同埋外交事務存有抱負。不過，礙於當年嘅美國並冇太多亞裔從事相關職務，亦都導致佢嘅仕途開始嘅時候並唔順利。
As I said, no one who looked like me had an international career at that time, as far as I could. So what I did was I joined the civil service as a GS9, lowly GS9. The lowest rank was GS8. But because I had a graduate degree, I was a 9.
然後佢輾轉去過多個政府部門工作，但係佢嘅亞洲人面孔就為佢嘅仕途添加咗障礙。
My Asian face marked me as someone foreign. Our ethnicity alone disqualifies us from playing a major role in the conduct of American foreign policy.
不過佢扭轉咗呢個局面。佢喺1989年被委任到尼泊爾出任大使，成為首位美國亞裔大使。雖然佢為呢個任命感到榮幸，不過同時亦都了解到背後嘅壓力。
So there's this double jeopardy. Oh, maybe a triple jeopardy because I'm female as well. If I had failed, well then women also are going to be considered failures. And that is one of the biggest challenges of being a minority, a successful minority in any country.
喺完成任期之後，張之香大使喺1998年創立咗中美教育基金，去推廣中美兩地嘅教育交流。呢個亦都係佢其中一個項目，去回報佢嘅出生地同埋現居地。
Those of us who are bicultural, whether we stay in the US, return to China, or move to another country, find it easier to navigate between our own cultural heritage and other cultures. It's a gift we must share, particularly at a time when there is stress, enormous stress in the US-China relationship, to bridge the two cultures and to improve US-China relations, making the world better and safer place.
雖然中美關係緊張，加上疫情引起更多針對亞裔嘅仇恨罪案，導致北美社會上唔同族裔之間出現更多誤解。而張之香大使相信，改變可以由教育開始。
We, like all Americans and Canadians, can do and should be able to do whatever we are qualified to do. And that is part of America, of the American story as well as the Canadian story.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間呢又夠啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。咁如果想重溫翻今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站，點擊節目重溫一覽。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。